This is Atlantic Television Network. Welcome to Global News at 9 p.m. First, the highlights. Okpebelo advises Muslims to pray for Nigeria at Ramadan. Tinubu signs electoral bill into law. Democracy under threat in Nigeria, ACF. The Master assures commitment to shipbuilding. Explosion injures worshippers in New York church. Galatasaray star hails Osimhen after the Juventus victory. Rapists should be burnt alive, Simi. Welcome back. Edo State Governor Senator Monday Okpebelo has described the simultaneous commencement of the holy month of Ramadan by the Muslim Ummah and the Lenten season by Christians as a significant and spiritually symbolic moment for Nigeria, and also called on Christians and Muslims to lift Nigeria before God in prayer. A statement by his CPS, Patrick Ebojele, the governor said the coincidence of the sacred seasons offers a rare opportunity for collective reflection, unity, and renewed commitment to the values of faith, sacrifice, love, and peaceful coexistence. The governor called on Muslims observing Ramadan and Christians marking Lent to use the solemn period of fasting and prayer to seek God's intervention in the affairs of Edo State and Nigeria at large, and also urged both faith communities to pray fervently for national unity, economic stability, security, and lasting peace across the country. Okwebelo further wished Muslims a spiritually fulfilling Ramadan and Christians a reflective and grace-filled Lenten season, praying that the period brings blessings, strength, and renewed hope to all families in Edo State and beyond. The Sultan, the spiritual leader of Muslims in Nigeria and President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, said the crescent moon was sighted in several parts of the country on Tuesday, the 29th day of Sha'aban. All Progressives Congress APC National Working Committee has suspended state, local government and ward congresses for Abia State. A statement signed by the national chairman of the party, Professor Nentawe Yiwada, on Wednesday said the suspension was due to ongoing consultations and need to conclude certain preparatory and administrative processes. The statement said the development would ensure the orderly, transparent and credible conduct of the congresses in the state, stressing that the party will communicate the revised schedule of activities to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Anambra State House of Assembly has concluded plans to recall the suspended member representing Ayamelum constituency, Bernard Udemezwe, who in August 2025 was allegedly suspended by the Anambra State House of Assembly for 3 months. He was suspended over a message and content he shared on social media, which the House described as damaging content. This is coming after the lawmaker had shared on his social media handles, alleging that his constituency, Ayamelum, is marginalized in the area of constituency allowance, and the lawmaker was handed an additional 3-month suspension for failing to comply with the initial directives of the House. The extended suspension, which commenced on November 26, 2025, is scheduled to lapse on February 26, 2026, while the Speaker Anambra State House of Assembly, Somtochukwu Udeze, during its plenary on Tuesday, directed the House Committee on Rules, Ethics and Privileges to review the suspension of Udemezwe in preparation for his recall. Udeze tasked the committee, chaired by the majority leader Ikenna Ofodeme, to urgently re-examine the matter in line with the House resolution and report back to the Assembly on the next adjourned date, and the House later adjourned plenary to February 19, 2026. Following the allegations of genocide leveled against the governor of Ebonyi State, Francis Obonnawinfuru, the member representing Ezza South and Ikwo Federal Constituency of Ebonyi State in the House of Representatives, Honorable Chinedu Oga, has dismissed the allegations, describing them as unfounded and misleading. This is coming after a human rights activist, Mrs. Joy Idam, had alleged that Governor Nwifuru was committing genocide against the Amazigh community amid a protracted land dispute with the neighboring community that has reportedly led to loss of lives and property. Fielding questions from journalists in Abuja, Honorable Oga strongly refuted the claims and called on Mrs. Idam to apologize to the people of Ebonyi State for what he described as inflammatory and false accusations. The lawmaker said the allegations were disconnected from the reality on ground, insisting that Governor Nwifuru has demonstrated commendable leadership in tackling insecurity and resolving communal conflicts across the state. According to him, several communities in Ebonyi had been embroiled in land disputes for over 2 decades prior to the present administration, but deliberate interventions by the governor in collaboration with stakeholders and community leaders have significantly restored peace. He also said, following renewed tensions in Amazigh, the governor constituted a panel to investigate the dispute and submitted recommendations for implementation.
We have 13 local governments, 171 wards, 2,300 something fully units. And before now, there were interstate war in Igbo, Adanama, Igbo, in Okubra, Effiong, Ikerefi, in Silo. Almost 10 different communities fighting interstate war. But when this young man is elected as a governor of Ebonyi State, he now brought up what is called Channel of People's Needs. He went down to the world dwellers, asked them what you want. Today, none of these places has been fighting war. Courtesy of good administration of our economy. For someone living in Abuja that have never been at home, that have never contributed for the growth of Ebonyi State, over the crisis in his community to another community, over land dispute. And the governor came up to set a panel. The panel had made up a report presented to the governor for implementation. And people went there to kill. And the governor placed a company as the chief secretary of the state. They now allege on the media that the governor of Ebonyi State committed a genocide. What she said is false. Because we know all what governor of Ebonyi State have done to make sure there is peace in Ebonyi State. You should apologize to Ebonians for inflicting more crisis to Ebonyi State. The stakeholders, the elder statesmen, the elders in the community have raised. It is the elders that came up to say the only thing that can bring peace is to place conflict for a moment, which by God's grace, those conflicts have been relaxed, and since then there is no an issue in Ebonyi State, in particular that community in Amase where they had a land dispute.
About 11 persons have been confirmed dead after a massive tree fell on two commercial vehicles at the Awum Village Market Square in Udi local government area of Enugu State. The incident involved a Toyota Hiace bus and a Sienna minivan. A statement on Wednesday by the State Police Public Relations Officer SP Daniel Ndukwe said the victims were passengers who had boarded the vehicles from Old Park, Enugu, and were heading to various villages within the Awum and Okpatu axis. According to the police, the vehicles had stopped at the market square to drop off some passengers when the tree collapsed on them. The Commissioner of Police, while commiserating with the families of the deceased and the Awum community, described the event as a tragic and unfortunate occurrence and further issued a safety advisory to community leaders and residents across the state to be proactive in environmental maintenance. Southeast leadership of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has accused the federal government of deliberately orchestrating the internal crisis within the party to prevent it from participating in the 2007 general elections. The allegation was made by the party's Southeast Vice Chairman, Ali Odefa, during the inauguration of the Abia State PDP Caretaker Committee at the party's zonal office in Enugu. Insisted that the ongoing disputes within the PDP were not coincidental but part of a calculated plan by the federal government under President Bola Tinubu to weaken the opposition, and urged party members to remain loyal and patient amid the challenges. The Vice Chairman also expressed confidence in the judiciary to resolve the crisis in favor of the party, describing the courts as the last hope for justice in Nigeria, and further tasked members of the newly inaugurated Abia State Caretaker Committee with the responsibility of rebuilding the party in the state. Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has denied allegations that he sponsored talks to disrupt a stakeholders meeting at the State Secretariat of the All Progressives Congress in Akure after some armed men invaded the party secretariat during a pre-ward Congress meeting presided over by the State Chairman of the APC, Adetimi Mehin. Aiyedatiwa, speaking at the meeting with the World Congress Committee at the party secretariat in Akure, said the meeting was initially scheduled for 10 a.m. but was moved to 2 p.m. to enable him attend, and he was informed of security concerns around the secretariat and immediately contacted the Commissioner of Police to ensure adequate protection. The governor urged party members to remain calm and united ahead of the World Congresses, while Chairman of the World Congress Committee in the state, Chief Margaret Araruenu, expressed confidence that the exercise would be peaceful, saying adequate arrangement had been made. Witness of the Department of State Services, DSS, has told the Federal High Court in Abuja that the suspected terrorists were found armed and mobilized to attack St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, Owo, in Ondo State on June 5, 2022. The witness, who was giving his testimony under protection, led a DSS investigation team into the attack, gave details of the roles played by the defendants in the attack, in which he said over 40 people died, while over 100 individuals sustained various injuries. Identified as SSI for security reasons, the witness, who was a 9th prosecution witness, PW9, spoke while giving his evidence before Justice Emeka Nwite and led in evidence by prosecuting lawyer Ayodeji Adedibe. The witness said he is the deputy director in charge of counter-terrorism investigation and led the investigation team. He also said his team was mandated to unravel the perpetrators, the cause of the incident, their sponsors, and any other findings that may arise. And when asked to explain what he meant by dry practice, the witness said it is the practice done with weapon without live rounds, so rearrange oneself on the safety precaution of the weapons. He further said, at the end of the dry practice, they all spend the night in Al-Qasim's room. Adding that on the 9th of June 4, Al-Qasim took a motorbike belonging to his father, which he rode most of the time, to deliver items to Mohammed and Abdullahi to facilitate their movement for surveillance on the church and also during the attack. Ogun State Commissioner for Finance and Chief Economic Advisor to the Governor, Dapo Okubadejo, says the state's debt profile currently stands at about 494 billion naira, while local debt rose from 133 billion naira in 2019 to 149 billion naira as of December 2025. Foreign debt increased from 333 billion naira in 2019 to 300 billion naira. He attributed the sharp rise in foreign debt to the devaluation of the naira, while the dollar, which exchanged for 330 naira in 2019, now trades between 1,400 and 1,500. The commissioner also highlighted the state's internally generated revenue, which increased from around 50 billion naira in 2020 to over 240 billion naira in 2025, with a projected 512 billion naira for 2026. He attributed the economic growth to deliberate efforts by the administration to ensure a conducive business environment through improved security, streamlined land acquisition, and robust infrastructure development. He also described the newly approved additional pension benefits as the first of its kind in Nigeria, adding that amendments to the state's pension law would formally integrate the scheme. Commissioner of Police, Kogi State Police Command, CP Naziru Kankan Rofi, has deployed enhanced patrols to places of worship and other public spaces and called on all residents to support ongoing efforts aimed at maintaining peace, security, and public order throughout the state during the Ramadan and Lent period. A statement issued on Wednesday in Dokuja by the Public Relations Officer ASP Saliu Afusat said, in Christianity, Lent is a solemn 40-day season marked by fasting, self-denial, and repentance inspired by the period Jesus Christ spent in the wilderness preparing for his crucifixion, while in Islam, Ramadan is a holy month devoted to fasting, increased prayers, and deep spiritual reflection, observed as one of the 5 pillars of Islam and a time that emphasizes complete submission to God. He reiterates that the command remains committed to protecting lives and property and ensuring that all residents go about their lawful activities without fear, and urges residents to remain vigilant and security conscious, particularly during early morning and late evening activities. The CP also calls on parents, guardians, religious leaders, traditional rulers, youth groups, and community stakeholders to use the period to promote peaceful coexistence, tolerance, and respect for the rule of law, stressing that security is a shared responsibility, and encourage sustained cooperation with the police and other security agencies through timely and credible information sharing. Federal Capital Territory Police Command has deployed personnel across the territory ahead of the area council elections and also declared a restriction of movement across the FCT from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on election day, with exemptions for essential service providers and election officials, and the area council elections is slated to hold on February 21, 2026. The Independent National Electoral Commission has cleared candidates from 17 political parties to contest the forthcoming local government elections in the Federal Capital Territory, while the elections covers 68 elective positions comprising 6 area councils, chairmanship seats, and 62 councillorship positions across the territory's 6 area councils, adding that about 1.68 million registered voters are eligible to participate in the FCT polls. A statement on Wednesday, the command spokesperson, Josephine Ade, said the deployment carried out under a comprehensive operational order involves a coordinated effort with sister security agencies, including the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, Nigerian Navy, the Department of State Services, and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. She said the Commissioner of Police, FCT Command Mina Dantawaye, directed all deployed officers to maintain professionalism and ensure adequate security at polling units and collation centers to guarantee a peaceful, free, and fair electoral process, and also assured voters that adequate measures have been put in place to enable them to exercise their civic responsibilities peacefully and without fear. In view of the Federal Capital Territory FCT Area Council elections, the People's Democratic Party chairmanship candidate for Buhari Area Council, Julius Adamu, has stepped down for the All Progressives Congress APC candidate Joshua Ishaku Musa. Julius Adamu, who disclosed, said the decision was as a result of the FCT Minister Yesom Wike's intervention. FCT Minister appealed for the cooperation of supporters at the polls. Federal government and the FCT administration have concluded plans to end overlapping taxes in Abuja and set up a unified system for revenue collection across the nation's capital. The move was outlined during a stakeholders engagement forum themed harmonizing revenue systems and implementing new tax laws, where management of the FCT Internal Revenue Service, FCT IRS, and the Nigeria Revenue Service NRS presented a coordinated roadmap for tax reform. While providing insight into the service's vision for 2026, the acting executive chairman of the FCT IRS, Michael Ango, said the harmonization of taxes will help streamline Abuja's revenue system, to eliminate duplication and position the capital city for sustainable development.
We have been able to replicate a system that exists in developed societies whereby the tax authority is not the final determinant of your liabilities or your obligations. We have created a system whereby we have an independent body known as the tax ombuds, where taxpayers who feel aggrieved or who feel dissatisfied with any decision that has been made by the tax authority can go to an independent body, not a court necessarily, but an administrative body that has been created where they can lay their complaints and get very prompt resolution at little or no cost. Another important thing is the issue of inclusive governance. Today, like I said, the FCTRS is a statutory member of the JRB, and we have all the rights that accrue to all the other members of the JRB, 36 states, and we are part and parcel of JRB. So any decision that is taken in the Joint Revenue Board affects us, so we are able to have a seat at the table and we're able to contribute and our voice will be heard. This means for us that we are a peer tax authority within the Federation. We now have access to national systems, we have participation in national tax policy, and we will enhance our enforcement capacity because we can leverage on all the structures and the laws that exist. Now, we also have a digital revenue growth model for us, which is leveraging on the electronic fiscal systems that have been created or that will be created at the federal level, particularly by the JRB and the NRS. Let me talk about the tax ID. In fact, I make bold to say that the FCTRS was the first subnational to key into the tax ID. In fact, we're ahead of the curve because we had gotten support from the NRS to build our tax portal. And so what we did was to go ahead and create a system whereby today, once you key into our portal and you register using a unique identifier, which is the NIN, you will automatically have your national tax ID.
According to Angle, the role of the FCTIRS is to guarantee sustainable funding for the city's roads, hospitals, bridges, schools, and social services.
So for us as a revenue authority, the real vision is to provide funding for the FCT so that you and I can have a city where there are good roads, there are hospitals, there are schools, there are bridges, there is infrastructure that we all can use as citizens. Like I mentioned, if each of us was to provide our own water, our own school, our own schools, we will not clinics or hospitals, we will not be able to achieve it. But if we all contribute as residents of FCT, then of course we'll have infrastructure, we'll have social services, we'll have a secured city where all of us can be proud of. Give you a timeline. I'm not a member of the legislature. Everybody has their role. We will do what we can. We will interact with the legislature. The Honorable Minister will work with the legislature to ensure that any laws that need to be passed to enhance the ability of the FCT administration to provide, a livable city will be done. But I cannot give you a timeline.
The executive chairman of the NRS, Dr. Zach Adedeji, described the engagement as timely and strategic, adding that the success of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's fiscal reforms depends on coordination at sub-national levels. The tax boss advised that the FCT as the seat of government must reflect international governance standards through order, transparency, and uniform administration.
Depending on the states, some states add over 100 tax items, tax types, also levies, charges, and rates being imposed on poor taxpayers. But with our intervention, we've been able to come up with the Uniform Taxes and Levies Act, which reduces all the tax heads to just 9. As of today, 11 states in Nigeria have passed these bills into law. It's in the assembly of 15 other states, while we are expecting the remaining 7 or 8 states, including the FCT, to give traction and pass this uniform harmonized bill into law. By virtue of Section 299 of the Constitution, the president is the governor of FCT, but he's designated his powers to the minister. The president is the champion and advocate of the reforms, and we had expected FCT to be the first state to domesticate the reforms we're embarking on. So I'd like to urge the FCT administration to please work with the FCTRS to domesticate these laws. It's very, very important that we do so. FCT should be the model jurisdiction where these laws are being implemented.
Amnesty International has strongly condemned the arrest of investigative reporter Ahmed Issa Sabeh by the Niger State Police Command, describing the action as unlawful and an attack on press freedom. A statement by Amnesty International alleged that Sabeh was arrested on the orders of the Niger State government official over what it described as trumped-up accusations of cyberbullying. According to the organization, the journalist was targeted simply for doing his job, while the rights group called on both the Niger State government and the Niger police to uphold their constitutional and international obligations to protect freedom of expression. The organization further stressed that intimidating or punishing journalists for their work contravenes both domestic and international legal standards, adding that a free and independent press remains a cornerstone of democratic governance. Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU Taraba State University Branch has resumed its previously suspended indefinite strike, citing the Taraba State government's failure to implement an agreement reached with the union on January 17, 2025. A statement signed by the union's chairman, Dr. Joshua Garba Mbave, on Wednesday in Jalingo, the union said the decision followed what it described as the government's inability to take concrete and verifiable steps toward fulfilling its obligations. According to the statement, the strike was earlier suspended in good faith to allow the government sufficient time to address the agreed issues, while the union said no meaningful progress had been made. This is coming after its Congress held on February 18, 2026, reviewed the situation and resolved that the continued neglect of long-standing issues left it with no alternative but to resume the industry action, and also listed several grievances behind the renewed strike, including the absence of a functional pension scheme for the university, failure to pay outstanding salary arrears owed to its members, non-payment of accumulated earned academic allowances, and the non-implementation of the newly negotiated 2025 ASU federal government agreement. Dr. Mbave further said the issues have persisted for an extended period and have adversely affected staff welfare, morale, and the overall functioning of the university system, stressing that the resumption of the strike was a last resort undertaken only after sustained dialogue with the state governments failed to yield the desired results. Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board says 12,860 candidates have registered for the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Exam in Jigawa State. A statement on Wednesday in Duse, the Jigawa State capital, by JAM Public Relations Officer in the state, Mokaram Bello Adamo, said the breakdown of the registration figure shows that JAM State Office registered 1,740 candidates, Federal University Duse Centers registered 4,936 candidates, and Bunyaminu Usman Polytechnic Hadejia registered 1,622 candidates and orders. The PRO reminded candidates that UTME pin vending closes on February 26, while UTME registration closes on February 28, and therefore urged interested candidates to take advantage of the opportunity to register for the examination. However, the JAM PRO assured candidates of a smooth registration process and encouraged them to visit the JAM website for more information. You're watching this transition on watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll return after this break. Do stay tuned.